They see that there's something different about it. They can't quite put their finger on it, and they don't understand your energy. They see that you're quiet. If you have that body language, they might look at that and latch onto that and say, oh, see, I said it. This person is an arrogant person. Welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I would like to talk about what we do with our hands when we're talking. Now, one of those things that stumps us when it comes to social interactions, it's a very common one. It's a very simple one. It's what to do with your hands. And what to do with your hands is extremely important in social interactions, especially when talking to people, because it can be the main difference between looking awkward and looking confident. It can be the difference between looking sure of yourself, looking unsure of yourself, looking socially inept, looking socially adept, looking like you lack confidence, like you lack self-esteem, and looking like a very confident person. And depending on what you want to project, this can either be very good or very bad. Okay? So, I'm just going to talk about some of the things you can do with your hand that I've learned to work. And the best thing is to practice these things on your own in front of the mirror so that you know how you're doing it. You don't have to be, you don't have to go to the extreme with it. You don't have to overthink it. I'm just saying you should practice in front of the mirror so that you can have that muscle memory. So I wouldn't have to think about it much when you engage with people. Okay, the first thing is you cross your hands in front of you, not in front of your chest, just lightly in front of you, down. You cross your hands at the wrist, or you hold your hands together, like you hold your palms and interlock your fingers together, down. The second one is hold your hands loosely together behind you and just talk. See, these are simple things that you can just do and picture in your head if you're able to picture things in your head. If not, just think about it and try to practice them in front of the mirror. Any situation, formal, informal, that is a stance that you can easily hold. Okay. And I'm not saying crossing your arms in front of your chest, because that's not what we want to do. That is going to give a closed off signal to the person you're talking to. And that is going to, sometimes it might even come across as defensive. It might come across as combative, depending on where that person is, what state that person is, and what circumstance it is, that you are in when you're engaging with that person. And, if you're at work, if you're at school, especially in this our awesome country, on this awesome continent, because of the cultural tinge everything has, it might come across as rude. You don't want to cross your arms in front of your chest. You don't want that to become something you're used to. If you're dealing with your friends, if you're dealing with people you have an informal relationship with, you might try that once in a while, but by and large, let it not be something that you do automatically without thinking, because it might get you into trouble and you might not know why. All right. And remember, as autistic people or as neurodivergent people, people already do not understand us. And many people, unfortunately, are prone to trying to find fault with people and with things they do not understand. So it's more likely, if they don't understand you already and they see that there's something different about it, they can't quite put their finger on it, and they don't understand your energy, they see that you're quiet, they see they might look at that. If you have that body language, they might look at that and latch onto that and say, oh, see, I said it. This person is an arrogant person. This person is a rude person. I said it. This person is defensive. He looks down on us. You really do not want that, okay? Except if you genuinely actually want to do that. The third thing is to put your hands in your pockets. Again, depending on the circumstance, it might come across as rude, but it might also come across as confident, okay? It might come across as confident. So if you're talking to somebody, let's say you're talking to your crush, or you're talking to somebody you're trying to, flirt with or whatever, then putting your hands in your pocket, especially if you're a guy, can make you come across as confident. It can help you come across as bigger physically in stature than you actually are. It definitely gives an open body language, so it allows you to occupy more space, hence looking slightly physically bigger. It can do a lot for you, but you also, if you are in the African culture, then if you're talking to people who are older, or if you're talking to people who in a formal environment, if you're in school, if you're talking to your boss, and you know that those people who carry the culture on their heads, you know what I mean, then you may want to avoid putting your hands in your pockets, because that can also give them the wrong impression and make it seem like you're actually rude or pompous or whatever, when that's not actually what you're interested in. So you might want to be careful with this one. Okay. The fourth one I'm going to say is playing with your hair. Playing with hair, not your hair. You might play with your hair. You could do that. But you don't want it to be excessive. And if you're the kind that has the hair that you've taken pains to arrange, and you know how our natural hair is, if you're taking pains to arrange it, then you might not want to fidget with it. If you have on a scarf, like me, you can play with your scarf. It's fine. You can play with your scarf, and it's not going to seem awkward, or it's not going to seem like you don't know what to do with your hands. And it can even help you, focus. It can serve as a fidget toy. See this? It can serve as a fidget toy without making things seem awkward, and without actually holding a fidget toy in your hands. Okay, if you're like me, who never remembers to hold a fidget toy, or who just thinks about it but never actually gets down to handling it, then if you have a scarf on, playing with your scarf actually works. Not playing with your outfit. If you're pulling the sleeves of your outfit, or you're pulling your outfit and all that, you're fidgeting. It's obvious that you're fidgeting, and it's going to make you seem less confident, more awkward, which is what we want to avoid. So avoid pulling at your outfit, but a scarf doesn't really count as much as the outfit does. So you can pull out your scarf, or the other option, which is what I was alluding to at first, is to play with somebody else's hair. Now, I know this is slightly, it might come across as odd. This is something that I've done. And in certain situations, A, it has to be in an informal gathering. B, it has to be with people that you've had or are having some sort of, just chill conversation with. And they know, like, you already have come across as non-threatening to them, and they come across as non-threatening to you. Okay. And you're trying to make yourself seem more approachable to them, or more open to them. Okay, you're trying to make yourself seem more open to them, so that they can read you as an open person, or as down to earth, or as more approachable, or as more sociable. You're trying to actually build that impression in their mind. Then this is something that you can do. And if you're a female, it might actually be easier for you than for guys. Okay, if you're a female interacting with other females, it might actually be easier for you, because guys don't normally engage in physical touch as much as females engage in physical touch. Again, one of those cultural things. In some other cultures, men engage in physical touch as much, even more than in some other cultures, like in this our culture. All right. So, I've done this before. I was in that situation, and this were people that I wanted to I wanted them to see me as more sociable, because I already understand in my head that no matter how much I gist and I make jokes and I laugh at your jokes, and there's always, I know that my energy is somehow reserved. So sometimes, depending on the circumstances and depending on the people I'm with, I might make an extra effort to make myself seem as sociable and as open and as down to earth. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And this was one of those circumstances. And so I, where I stood, I was standing with two girls. We were talking, and I needed to move my hands, so I used my hand to play with the hair of the girl on my right, because she was closest to me. And I could see in fact, the time I'm talking about, this incident I'm talking about, was the first time I ever did it. And I could see from one angle of my eye, because I was playing with one person's hair, but I was facing the other person. Okay, so you cannot be creepy about it. You cannot be playing with one person's hair and looking at that same person and then excluding the other person. Or, don't be creepy about it. Okay, so I was playing with one person's hair. So it was a way to ensure that when I was talking, I was including her in the conversation, right? I was including her in the people I was referring to. Understand? And I could see from the corner of my eye that she looked at me in surprise. And the fact that she would even look at me in surprise should tell you that I was right about my conclusion that no matter how much I try to be sociable, there's always that reserve in my energy that I'm unable to surmount by just gisting. And so, you know, that extra step that I usually take may not be out of place, if you understand what I mean. And she looked at me in surprise for like a few seconds, and then she just, shrugged it off as one of those things. But she was fine with it. She was fine with it. And there was even a softening in her posture that made me think that, okay, she enjoyed it. Again, you have to be careful. If somebody seems like they're not into physical touch, because, some of us don't be into physical touch, then you pull away instantly. And again, don't be awkward about it, and don't make it seem like a big deal. But you pull away instantly. And I have been in circumstances like that where I try to greet somebody, I put my hand on maybe on their shoulder, on their back, and I can see that they stiffen, and that tells me immediately that okay, they don't want to be touched. So I pull back immediately. Okay, so we have to be conscious about that. But you also have to be careful not to read every surprise in somebody's demeanor, or every reaction that may not be negative as something negative. We have to be careful with that, and not read our own, or not impose our own sensitivities, or our own self-internalized rejections on other people. We should not do that, but we should also be discerning and be careful, so that we don't end up offending people or making people uncomfortable. Okay, so those are some of the hand things you can do with your hands. So making physical, I said touching somebody's hair, but that's like just making physical contact with somebody, right? It doesn't have to be only the hair. It can be something else. It can be the hands. Sometimes I play with people's hands, and I know people will play with my hands when we're talking. It can be the hair. It can be some other article on their body. It can be their clothing. It can be anything. Okay, that's one. Second, it could be, like I said, putting your hands in your pocket. It could be, number two was crossing your hands behind you. Number one was crossing your hands in front of you. And
gesticulating, of course.
yeah, you could also touch your own hair or play with your own scarf. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. You could play with your own scarf if you have on a scarf. If you're playing with your own hair, you could do that, but you have to be careful. So it's not the kind of hair that would get, scattered. Obviously, you have to be careful if you're playing with somebody else's hair. When I play with people's hair, it's not the the natural type of hair that is going to probably get scattered or shrink, or become in disarray quickly. It's the more silky, pressed, sleek type of hair that has no dream of getting scattered at all. Okay. So anyway, I have talked for long enough on this video. I hope it helps somebody who wants to look less awkward in social situations and don't know what to do with their hands. You can watch this video again, and share it with anyone you know might benefit from it. Somebody who doesn't know what to do with their hands, just share this video with them. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at askdrzayne@gmail.com. You can find my email address on my channel page. And let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you've not subscribed, please make sure you subscribe right now and give this video a big thumbs up. And I will see you next time. Ciao.